What's up, ordinary car guys, and welcome to the channel. Today we're working on 2003 Toyota Tacoma, and this is the 4x2. We're going to be replacing the shocks and struts, so let's get to it. So I'm going to be starting on the front, doing the front struts first. First thing we're going to do is break the lug nuts loose. It's easiest to do that while it's on the ground so the wheel won't turn when you're torquing on them. So we'll use just the 21mm end of a 4-way. And then also we'll be picking it up off the ground. So I'm going to use some jack stands to keep it safe and stable so there's no accidents. Always want to stay safe. But also I'm going to be doing some other things to the truck while I have it up, changing oil, rotating the tires. So I'm just going to go ahead and putting the whole truck up on jack stands, and then we'll get started. Now we have the truck on jack stands and safe, and we have all the wheels off. Going to come in starting on the front, and we're just going to take some WD-40 and spray it on our bolts up here. There's 3 of them, and then also on our one down here, just to try to help loosen it up so we can get it out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that all the way around, so it just has some time to set and break in. And then we'll start with either a 14mm wrench or socket on the top, and we'll break those loose. So now we'll just use our socket and ratchet and wrench to try to break these loose, and we may need some leverage. So what we'll do is we'll grab a pipe to put on the end of this. So now we have our pipe for leverage. You can do this with a wrench as well. Same thing. Alright, that's broken loose. So the ratchet doesn't really fit on the back ones, so we will use a wrench for this. Same deal. Use the pipe for leverage. Break it loose. We'll do the same thing for the last one. So now working on the bottom of this, we're going to take a 19mm deep well socket on our ratchet. We'll use our pipe for leverage. And get it loose. Now we'll get this nut off, and then next we'll tap out the bolt. So now what we're going to do, we're going to grab either like a pry bar, crowbar, or a thick screwdriver. We're going to stick it under one of these coils, and what we're going to do, we're going to push down on it. So when I push down, it's hard to see, but you can see some of the tension lift off of that bolt because I'm pushing down on the upper control arm and also holding the spring. So we'll do that. So push down on that, and at the same time we're going to use a hammer to tap out this bolt. So now what I'm also going to do is use a screwdriver or something to, while I'm still prying up to loosen it, to knock it out. There we go. Now we got it loose. Now we can finish undoing the top bolts and then pull the whole assembly out. All right, so now once we got our last nut off the top, the whole assembly just comes right out. And one thing I would mention is if you're not comfortable and don't have the experience using a spring compressor, I would highly suggest just buying a complete assembly rather than just the strut itself and trying to replace the spring. If you don't know what you're doing, those can definitely be dangerous, just because these springs, in order to compress them, you do have to get a lot of tension on them. So just buy the complete assembly, pull the whole thing out, swap the whole thing. It's a lot easier and safer if you don't have the experience with that. So just my 2 cents on that. That's exactly what I'll be doing. It'll just be a lot easier. So now we'll go grab the new one. So now what we're going to do, now that we have the new spring, is just take it and we'll make sure that the bottom lines up with our bracket. That way our holes at the top will line up. If you notice, if you line it up like this, it does line up, but these holes at the top don't match. So it can really only go in one way. You really can't screw this up. So we'll just slide it in the top and put one of our nuts on it. We just want to hold this in place. Then we'll go ahead, put the other 2 on it, tighten it down a little bit, and then we'll start working on the bottom. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to use your pry bar screwdriver again and pry down on the top. Now we're just going to take a screwdriver to thread through the bottom. So we'll push this in, and you may need another person to do this. All right, you can let up. All right, so there's a lot of tension on here, so if you have another hand for someone to pry down on it, it is very helpful. I actually tried a few times to do it by myself and couldn't, so got a little help. But now what we'll do, we'll just take our bolt and put tension on this down again, just to loosen up our screwdriver down here, and we'll thread the bolt through. So I'm ready. All right, so we were stuck right on the threads. So now what I did is I grabbed the ratchet with the 19mm end on it, and I'm just running the threads through. So that's working, so we'll do that and get it tight, and then we'll put our other 19 nut and washer on this other end and tighten it down, and then we'll tighten the top. So now that we have the front done, we are laying here under the back of the truck looking at the shock. So we have a 17mm on our ratchet up there. Going to use our pipe again just to break it loose. So yeah, we're just going to break this loose, and then we'll move down to the bottom to take that bolt out first. All right, so now that one's loose. Now I'll move to the bottom. Do the basic same thing, except now we'll just completely pull this one out. All right, so now on the bottom of the back, we have our wrench. And we're going to use our pipe again for leverage. Well, maybe not. Pipe doesn't fit, so we'll just use our hand. Break that loose. So now we'll pull this bolt out, and then we'll go to the top, pull that one out, and then we should be good to go. And there we go. Now that we have this off, we will take the top loose and then pull it all off. So now that we have our old shock off, what we're going to do is we will take our new one, and notice that your shock is banded. We want to leave that on right now because we're going to put the top on, and then we're going to cut the band to relieve the pressure, And as the shock is moving down, we'll guide it on this lower pin, which will make it easier for us to install so we don't have to try to compress the shock and get it on the lower mount. So right now, we'll just put it on the top. If I can stay off the camera. All right, we have it on the top. Now we're going to put our top bolt in, and we're not going to tighten it down all the way, but we are going to snug it down just a tad. So we got it hand tightened. Now we're going to move to the bottom. So see, we have the bottom here, and it is up. So I'd loosen the top just a little bit more, just to give it a little bit of wiggle room. So now what we're going to do is we're going to cut this band and try to guide it on here as it goes down. So I missed it just a little bit. Had to push up on it some. Probably couldn't see that too great just because I had to put some force into it, but we got it on there. Now we'll be able to tighten both of these bolts down, and that's it. So the back is definitely easier than the front. Just rather the shock rather than having to try to compress the spring and everything. But that's it. So that's the front and the back. Now I'll wrap it up. Well guys, that's it. That's replacing the struts and shocks on the 2003 Toyota Tacoma. Takes a little bit of work. It's not horrible. You know, now that you know what you're doing, shouldn't be too hard. Some parts will take a little extra hand if you have it, or maybe you can just get it a little bit easier than I did. But that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I like helping people, like putting out videos like these. So hopefully we'll have some more projects coming out in the future. But thanks for watching. We'll see ya.